whatever. Um, so this is I want to start with discussing a style of art that is well known around the world, but it might be new to you. Uh, the art is called Surrealism. It's surrealism. Um, Surrealism is the beginning of it stands for super real. So beyond what like you'd expect to see normally. And over the years, I've had several times when students have made surreal art, whether or not it was part of the um, the project. I'm gonna bring this. Some of it is, yeah. So I want to share the screen so if people at home can see. And this is what we're sharing. Question? Not really. So I want to go. I'll get into it. Let's look together at a couple of examples from some work that's been done by students over the years. So, for example, this is a project that I didn't assign. This student chose to duplicate, you can see, a similar looking squirrel, give it beady red eyes in a desert landscape. And this appears to be photographic, but it isn't obviously normal looking. It is surreal. Now, some people say surrealism, they define it as um, a look into your subconscious. What's our subconscious? That means you can see your subconscious best when you dream. So dreams are part of the subconscious. Conscious means awake. So subconscious is not awake, below the conscious level. So this is an image where the student had chosen to take these squirrels, give them beady red eyes, and duplicate them across the board. Now, if you look at the work, it's not necessarily too complicated to create. Right. They used the same image that they copied and then pasted in there. They did change it though. They made some changes. Now, some surrealist art is the form, it does come in the form of a painting. Now, we're looking at student work because I want you to see that kids like you have already done this for me. This is another picture where the student, they had a different assignment. The assignment was, an image editing assignment, and they took these photographs and they made what you see here. They took. Say it again. Well, yeah. So what they did was the original photo was a woman covering her face with her hands. Then then they found another photo of a woman's face that looks like it really is that woman's face. Now they found like you could sort of see if you look for a few minutes, the main thing that was important was to get the shape, the face to fit where it looks like it would fit on the actual person's head. So it's not the same person, but for us it is. And that's surrealism. You don't actually ever get to see through, somebody's hands. Um, but there you go. Now, I had some students a couple of years ago who went to town doing surrealist art. We started some work with existing images, and for example, the background photograph here is of a woman who was living in Afghanistan at the time when they were at war with Russia. So they were battling. The country was in turmoil, and these average people were kind of left behind. And the photo was the front cover of the National Geographic magazine. It's probably their most famous cover ever because of the nature of the woman's eyes. If you look at the eye that's shown there, it's a very distinct look there. Now, this other image is Marilyn Monroe from a painting. So they took those two images and combined them. So you have this beauty image of like a glamour woman like Marilyn Monroe and the woman from Afghanistan surviving, trying to live through a war in her country. And to combine those things is a very surrealistic idea. Now, she did many images that are similar to this or come from that kind of point of view. This is this this gentleman is the guy who created the Apple Computer Company. That's an old Apple computer there. If you look at the top of the picture, she opened up his head and did all kinds of crazy stuff inside there. So so while it looks like it was an original photograph, she moved with that photograph, changed it to what you see there. Yes, yes. Yeah. I think it's like a robot like head inside of this. Yeah. But I don't disagree with you. Yeah, it's definitely a mixture of things. So, but there you go. That's a great example of surrealism. Now I was giving them some images to start with, and then they were just going from there. So this is the same guy, Steve Jobs again, building a computer underneath his hands. There you can see, and then this artist took that idea. She kind of copied and pulled off the face, and then did that stuff inside of there. Again, yeah, yeah. So this is up to a point. Now this is another one. We hung this as one of her best pieces in our gallery at one point. So if you look, this is. Does anybody know this painting? The Mona Lisa. Right. Go ahead. Yeah. What does that make you think? Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. Um, like I said, this was art the student just kind of created on her own, and it wasn't necessarily an assignment. Like I didn't say, "Hey, take the Mona Lisa, open up her face," um, but it does do. It's made the same way we make our stuff already. Select some stuff, copy, paste, and when you apply that surrealism concept to it by like placing what looks like a another face under her face, or almost what looks like a robotic. Yeah. Yes. This but anyway, we always talked about that image and we liked a lot. Now here's yeah, this one I want to show you too because so these are students in one of my classes. We just happen to have taken some photographs of them shooting video. This is before the this is in the before times. That's right. So they were filming some stuff, and this girl, this artist, took them and kind of gave them melty, colorful skin. So that was her idea, concept, and she drew it. And then you can see the shadow effect underneath the little drippies. So, but I wanted you to see some art made by a student, and then I wanted to show you how something like this could get made. So looking at this photograph, and this is my daughter. This photograph, it was a few years ago, and what was going on was we had hiked to the top of this hill. It's a pretty common thing. It's a park, and we were hiking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happened was we got to the top of the hill, and then my daughter, lovely child that she is, she turned to me. She says, "Daddy, I don't want to walk anymore." And she was like 8 years old at this time. So I'm like, eight? You're eight. I can't like. What do you want me to do? Carry you down the hill? She was big. She's a big kid. So I said, "You can do it. Come on." And she chose to plug her ears while I spoke to her and said, "Come on down there, let's go, keep on going." And she got this little smirk on her face, like she's, like she knows what, how cool she is. The only thing about this picture that bugged me was I couldn't do anything about these people in the background. So, so what I thought to do was to, and you'll see this plays into our surrealism concept in a second here. Is I wanted to use the clone tool to get rid of these people. Now, this is a tool that is both in it is both in Pixlr, and there's a version of it in Photopea as well. Same tool, does very similar stuff, but we're going to use it in Pixlr here to get rid of these people, and then we'll talk about how to use it in the idea of surrealism. So first of all, I like to work close up on something if I'm, you know, trying to just get rid of these two people. I don't need to see the whole picture, so I'm zoomed in. My mouse wheel does that. Your trackpad will do it also. So I'm zoomed super in, and I'm going to choose the source point for my cloning. Now, to clone, what I'm going to do is get rid of this lady first. So I'm going to click here, and now I have a selection made. And now when I move over here and click, it is using the black part is the sampling area, and then the white circle is where I am actually coloring. And because I'm doing this on this tree area, the reason I'm doing it slow is so you can watch and see. And I'm trying to be careful that I don't just. This is a tool I don't like to just scribble with. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make a big mess. So I'm going to select again so we can continue. The other thing I want to try to be careful of is not to duplicate the same thing too many times. So already there's a tree and a tree that are very similar. I'm going to try to avoid that as I go forward, but we'll see how I do. Once again, I'm choosing a source point by just clicking on that and then clicking down here and then moving over and then clicking, and it looks like we're erasing, but this is only working this way because we're cloning from one spot to another. Now I'm going to go down here and just do a little something. I didn't like what happened there. And now I want to show you the primary thing that people get wrong when they're using this clone tool. For example, if you said, "Mister, I want to get rid of these legs," and you clicked here, if you move over here, you can see your circles are touching practically. So that's not the best way to do this because eventually you will be copying something you meant to erase. So be careful about that and give yourself a little extra space so when you choose your selection point, be a little bit further away from it, like over here, and then you can use it to knock out the thing that you wanted to remove. Now, as I said, I don't want duplication. I don't want a lot of the same thing over and over again. So I might do a couple of quick clicks and just kind of whoop, and then maybe another click further up, and then just kind of go and take that a little bit there. And then when we do that a couple of times, I will be much happier because I don't want the duplication to be apparent. Those are things that people see all the time in Photoshop. So now you can see zooming out, we've left only one person there. And now we can very easily get rid of them too. So source, select your copying area, your sampling point, move, and then gently brushing them away until they're gone. And then, of course, like I said before, watch you don't copy the same thing over because we got two of the same thing right there. Let's try to knock those out. And then let's sample some trees up here. So as you go and do something like this, you'll get used to the tool and you'll be able to make something that works and looks believable. So now when we zoom out, you can see it's like that person was never there. Now, you say, well, what does that have to do with surrealism? Well, I used this tool when I made this image, which once again, if you're my kid, you're going to be in my art. So this is I call this surrealism because as you look closely at it, it looks kind of normal. But when you look closer, Jolie, you were saying the chain's missing, right? So this was a normal photograph that upon close inspection, if you look, I took the time with the editing tools to take away the chain. So it looks, when you're thinking about it now, like she's kind of floating there. I paid attention to the details in places like the ground where the chain would have been casting a shadow, and I took that out too. The ground here worked really well for this because it's that like park surface kind of stuff that you can, yeah. Now also, you didn't notice it, but in the background there were some things that I took out too, like a porta potty and a couple of other things. But this lets me do so. This using the tool we just did let me do this and give my project that surrealism look. So again, if you looked at a picture like this one here, I have the same opportunity to go in and do a little of that same kind of work. Select your clone tool. Uh, be on the layer. Select your source, which again, up here we got this green nice tree to go in, select a source area, and then go up in here and just start taking away the chain. Again, it's not perfect, but you got to select several times. Otherwise, I would have been copying her hair there. But you can see if you take your time and do a thorough job, you can really make something look, um, give it that aura of surrealism. Yes, Lamaya. That's a good question. You do set your brush size, and I think you're right. If you crank up your brush size and it was huge, and I was doing this, you would probably see the sampling more easily. Like you would be able to detect that that's how it was done. So I do think yes, brush size makes a difference. Also, softness makes a difference. I mean, I like that the way the brush was set because in the areas where I edited, you'll see a nice little, you know, you won't see a very hard edge. You'll just see the kind of painterly look of the brush. And when you're zoomed out and you see this, as a final thing, it looks pretty good. So um, this is the project we're going to do, based on surrealism. You can use found images like our examples that we looked at by students here. Um, this is a photograph I've given to kids for years, and the only thing I expected them to do with it was swap their heads. So if we look quickly here, we have done this with um, actual photos of a real couple of kids. Where is it? You can, yes. So I'm giving you, yes, those are options I would give you. Let's see, my picture is, oops, not there. It's a good, yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, okay. So this is one I've done as a project a few times, and it's the same concept, just with a real couple of photos of some real kids. And I have a video sample, a video lesson on how to do this particular one. But again, realize and remember, it's only really selecting selecting the head, copying and pasting it back in, and then erasing what was already there. So, but that's a whole other video, which I'll put in the project when I post it eventually. So, yeah, so you could use existing images like this, and then you can do. See, we were doing just a swap of Kanye's head and Kim's head, but this student chose to go a little bit further and open up Kim's head. Like again, this she had a really big interest in like robots and steampunk type stuff. So it can be as simple as a photo like I was working on, and just kind of taking out something like supportive, like the chain on this swing, or it could be swapping the heads of at least two people. Can't really do this with just one, image. Um, or it could be, the erasure and removal of things from a picture using the clone tool. What about the color thing? A group from the Flickr thing. Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. So the way I know what you mean. It was the one with the purple background. Yeah, this is not that project. We'll do something like this eventually, but this is not that project. It's more like one of these or the multiple squirrels. Um, this edit is pretty surreal. It's baseball player and underneath him the tiger was added. So again, these are supposed to be dreamlike images. Which the soccer ball. Yeah, that one. Well, that one's actually the Little Big project from the previous lesson. So don't combine too many ideas into one, idea. Here's a couple more by one of the other kids who did the surrealism very well, and it's yes. No, I'm not going to assign pictures for you. I'm going to give that freedom to you to find the things that you want to do with it. And again, here's a couple of more. These were regular people, and their faces were removed and replaced with something else. So, and these capture very simply the concept of surrealism. So, it's combining unusual things and using the clone tool to take things apart or combine or put them back together.